Today I'm going to show you how to do a complete SEO and AEO setup for Webflow websites. This is the exact process that I use for client projects, so I'm going to show you real examples along the way. We are going to cover the technical foundation, so how to structure your website and use the right HTML tags, performance and indexing, so how your website appears on Google and AI-powered search engines. And we are also going to cover content, key trust signals, and an overall strategy for AEO and SEO, especially with all the changes that are happening to search due to AI. So let's start with structure and talk about HTML tags. Semantic HTML tags tell browsers, assistive technologies, and search engines what each element on the page represents, and not just the content inside of it, but what it means. Like, for example, it can say that that's an image, or that's a paragraph, or that's a navigation bar. So with HTML tags, you need to make sure that you have the right structure on your website. I'm going to show you examples from using Client First by ThemeSuite. And this is mainly the structure that you have on your website. You have like a div with page wrapper, then another div with that has the class main wrapper, and then you have the sections that are inside of them. I'm going to show you an example. So this is an example of a website that I've developed. You have like the page wrapper, and to see the HTML tags in Webflow, you need to go to the right panel, and then you have to click on the settings tab, and you are going to see here like the tag, and this is a div. But then you have inside of it the main wrapper, and you want to make sure that for this one, like the content, the main content that's on the website, it needs to be inside of a div with the HTML tag as main. So this is the main content of the document. And you also want to make sure that the navigation bar and the footer are not inside of the main wrapper, and they are separate. And for the navigation bar, if you are going to use the default one from Webflow, it comes with the tag already added. Like, you are not going to see it here because it's going to have like that nav tag. But if you need to use, sometimes you need to create like a default one because you may want to build some custom things, and the default one from Webflow doesn't help in the you need to add more customization. Then you may need to make sure that you have a tag for it. So for example, I have this website where I had to create a custom navigation bar, and I added it as a div, and then I changed the tag to nav, right? And this is how you usually do it. So you need to make sure that it has the navigation bar has the nav tag. And for the footer, I usually I just add a div, and then I change the HTML tag to footer. So you need to make sure that these are the right ones. And when it comes to the sections that are inside the main wrapper, the first one is the header. And for this one, you need to make sure that you use the HTML tag as header, because this is the first section, and that's when you need to use the HTML tag of header. But then for all the other sections within the main wrapper, you need to change the HTML tag, so you are going to add them as divs, and you need to make sure that you are going to select the HTML tag to section for each of these sections. And yeah, mainly that's how you do it. And for the headings, I'm going to go into detail soon about this. But for the text, you are going to make sure that you are going to use paragraphs. And for the buttons, you're going to add them as buttons. Sometimes you need to create custom ones, and that's when you add like a link block, and then you are going to add the elements inside of it. You are going to add like a text, and that's when you add this text and add a paragraph inside of it. But mainly, like when you are going to use like text, you are going to add text on the website, you are going to add them as paragraphs, unless it's something like a button or something like that, where of course it's not a paragraph, and it's not like the main text on the website, if it makes sense. And for the rest of the elements, like usually like Webflow adds like an image, of course. You need to make sure for images, usually you need to add them as images and not inside of a div as a background image, because you can add alt text, and you can add like, it's so much better for accessibility, and it helps with SEO as well. One important thing to note is that sometimes HTML tags are not enough, and you need to use area labels to add more meaning to the elements on the page. For example, one common scenario where this appears is on the footer when you add social links. So for example, in this case, I add it as an SVG inside of a link block. So the browser is going to read it as this is like a link, but it doesn't say what that link opens. For example, when you add a link as a text, it says like it's going to read it as a link for bridging. So it's going to know that it's going to go to the bridging page. But in this case, because it doesn't have like alt text, the icon is not an image and it doesn't have an alt text or something like that, it's not going to know what it's going to open. So in this scenario, like I add it as so inside the settings panel on the attributes, I add an area label and I add the name of the icon, so LinkedIn, so it knows that it's going to open a link for LinkedIn. Same for Twitter or X. And another scenario where this appears is on the logos or in the footer. So I'm going to like it's an image, and let's say that I don't have an alt text for this one. And usually like you shouldn't have add an alt text for these ones because it's going to say like for example in this case like land hub, and it's not going to say the that it's actually when you click on the link it goes to the home page. So this is how I do it. I add an area label and I say home, so it knows that it's going to go to the home page. And you are going to do the same for the logo inside the navigation bar. You are going to add it as like area label home, so the same thing. So when you have this kind of scenarios, like for example you need to copy a link for an article or something like that, you are going to use area labels because it's going to describe what clicking on that button means, and it helps with accessibility and with SEO as well. Okay, let's talk about headings. You need to make sure that the first heading that you add on your page, it's going to be an H1, and you also need to make sure that you are not going to use multiple H1 on the same page, because the browser, for example, is going to interpret this as the title of the page. So you are going to have only one title per page, so only one H1. For all the other sections that you are going to add, you need to start with H2. So this is going to be the title of the section, and then for all the other headings that you are going to add inside of this, you need to make sure that you are not going to skip heading levels. So for example, now that I added an H2 here, you are going to make sure that this is going to be an H3 and not an H4, because this keeps the heading level. Let's say that, for example, you want to add an H4 because in the Figma file or in the design, it is styled as an H4. For you to do this, you are going to change the class and not the HTML tags. So you are going to add this, for example, um, like this. So this is the style for H4. Even if you are going to add it as heading 3 in the HTML, it's going to read it as heading 3. So you need to do them like this. And I'm going to show you more examples. Again, H2 for the section, another section, H2 there, H2, and here again H2, then H3. And again, you should make sure it's fine if they repeat, but you need to make sure that they don't skip levels. Again, not H4 here or H5 or something like that, and H3 for smaller ones, because it's going to read it as this is the title of the section as H2, this is a subheading for this title H3, and for example you want to add another subtitle for this subtitle, I don't know, depending on the design, you are going to add it as H4. Again, regarding the style that you add on them. And things can get a bit more complicated when it comes to blogs. Like for example, let's open the CMS for a blog article. Let's say for this article you are going to see, yeah, this is going to be H2. So again, if you are going to add another heading inside of this one to break them into more sections, you are going to add them as H3, and you are going to respect the same structure. You shouldn't add an H1 on the blog, because on the blog article, like the body text, because you are going to have the H1 on the title of the blog. So all the other ones are either like H2 and the same styling for them, and then H3 for the subheadings inside the H2. But you shouldn't skip like heading levels. So you should kind of explain this to someone that is using adding the text on the blog. And for setting up these styles so they look consistent for the blog article, the way I do it, I go inside of the style guide that I set up inside of the website, and we are going to find the rich text. Okay, so in the style guide, we are going to have, like for example, text, rich text. and you are going to see all the headings. Again, you shouldn't use a H1 inside of the rich text for blogs, but this is just like to set the styles. So to set the style for each heading, let's say that it shouldn't be as big as it is on the as it's usually on the website, and you are going to style them like this. Like, you are going to select all H1 headings, and then you are going to click on this, like, that are nested inside of text rich text, because you are going to use this class on the rich text that you are going to add inside of the blogs, and you are going to style them from here. So it's going to be um more consistent on blog articles and not as big as it's usually on the website, for example. And you are going to do this for all the headings. You can do the same for the paragraphs, or the lists, the codes, the images. Like, you can style everything so it looks a bit different and more consistent on blog articles. And the last thing that we want to talk about when it comes to structure is the navigation menu. You need to make sure that you have a well-designed navigation menu with all the important links, because it's going to help improve user experience, as well as SEO, because it's going to help search engines crawl and index your pages efficiently. So you want to make sure they have everything that is important on the navigation menu. Okay, so let's talk about performance. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the mobile responsiveness. So you want to make sure that your website is responsive on any device. In Webflow, you can change the breakpoints like this, so it's quite easy. And because, for example, I use like client first from FinSuite, I you can see that the text and the sizes change based on the breakpoint. So I set them up like, for example, you can see like the size is like, it's 6 RAM, and then 5, 3, and it stays like this, like 3. And you need to make sure that it's going to be responsive, and nothing weird is happening, like the elements to move outside of the border, and like the screen to just move left and right and stuff like that, and that everything fits on the screen and it looks good, and it's designed for every screen size. And another thing that I want to talk besides this, like, I'm not going to go too much into depth on how this works. Let me know if you want me to. But the other thing that I want to talk about is animations. So I am going to show you an example, like from my portfolio. Like, I have this logo reel, and I have like a hover animation that works. And of course, you don't really need this on mobile, like on tablet and stuff like that. So you need to make sure that you are going to disable the animations that you don't really need on mobile devices. And the way to do this, like, for example, on the interactions panel, you can go and just disable them on tablet, phone, and just leave them on desktop and above to trigger. And for the GSAP animations, I'm going to show you another example inside the interactions. So this is the GSAP version, not the class interactions that I showed you before. You want to go inside of the GSAP, and you need to click on this one, like conditional playback, and click on breakpoint, and you can select. It plays if the breakpoint, like, let's say like breakpoint, yeah, let's say that you want to disable, and this is how you disable them, and you select no animation. Okay, so let's talk about one of the most important things, which is optimizing images. The file size and the image behavior, I'm going to explain in a few minutes what this means, directly impacts the performance of the website, the user experience, accessibility, and SEO. So you want to make sure that the file size is smaller and you set up the image behavior correctly. And let's start with one of the easiest things first. For the logos, you want to upload them in Figma and export them as SVGs, because it has like a smaller file size, and also like it retains the image quality, which is very important. And same for icons. Any icons that you have, you should export them as you should upload them and export them as SVGs on Webflow. And for the rest of the images, I'm going to show you how I usually do it. So let's take this image, for example. I'm going to remove the corners, because usually that's how I do it. I find that it's better. Then I'm going to export it with the same file size that you have, the same size, the resolution that you have in Figma. And then I'm using this website that I found is called Cloud Convert, and I'm going to convert it to WebP. So I'm just uploading the image here, and I'm just converting it for this one. Like, I exceeded the credits, but then you want to upload it on Webflow. Another thing with Webflow, which is very good on each breakpoint, Webflow creates another image that kind of like for the resolution that it has for that breakpoint, it creates an image, so the file size is smaller, so you don't have to upload different sizes for each breakpoint on Webflow. So this is done automatically by Webflow, and you don't have to worry about this. But converting it to WebP, it reduces the file size a lot, and it also retains the quality. Like, I found it that it's even better than Tiny PNG, which is another website that I recommend. Like, in some cases you may need this, but I found that the other website like WebP is also good. Now, Webflow also has added a way for you to select an asset. Let's open this, and you can, I don't want to do this. Okay, let's select the asset, and yeah, you can compress it, and it says like either this or WebP. I think this is even smaller. I usually just use WebP. Like, I found that it retains, like, again, those you can test between this, but for now, like, this is how I've done it. I found that it's the most reliable way. Even outside of Webflow, I'm just using this, and I'm amazed by how small the file size is. You should try to keep it under 150 kilobytes, and you should it should be good. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is the image behavior that I mentioned before. You can see here when you switch to the settings tab on the image, it says lazy loads on scroll and eager loads with the page. For only the hero images, like the images on the hero on the first section, I add like eager, it loads with the page, because sometimes it can load a bit slower and it looks weird, especially if you have animations. And I just add it to load with the page. I found that it's a lot better, so it doesn't look like when you refresh the page that it loads, especially it usually happens when someone gets on the website for the first time, and you can see that the images are loading a bit, especially if the file size is bigger. It shouldn't be that noticeable, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't look like something is loading, and it loads at the same time with the page. And for all the other images, I just leave them as loads on scroll. And that's what I meant by image behavior. And you should do the same thing, like for all the other images, you should leave them like with this setup, and not make all of them to load with the page, because it's going to take a lot of time for the page to load, and it's not good. Another thing that I need to talk about is to use Lottie files instead of GIF. And also, the other thing when it comes to Lottie files and how to optimize them, you need to make sure that you have as little frames as possible. Like, for example, in this example, I have like it's 16 frames, which is very good. And you can see that it looks like it's playing without stopping, which is the whole idea, but it's like as little frames as possible to create that motion effect. And you can see that on the right, like Lottie JSON, like it's 1 MB, which is quite a lot. But I recommend you to use .lottie, which is like the file size is significantly less, and it's so much better. And yeah, this is the file that extension that you want to use for Lottie files. And in Webflow, how you set it up, you upload it, and then you select loop, and it plays the same animation over and over again. So it's the same thing as on the other one. So you need to try to use like you need to think about your animation in the way that you need to use the least amount of frames possible to create the animation that you want, so you can keep the file size as small as possible. If not, I recommend videos instead of Lottie files, which I'm going to explain you how to optimize it as well. So let me show you how to optimize videos now. So we are going to do the same things as with images, but with other tools. A tool that I use and I recommend it a lot to optimize file size and to retain quality is called Handbrake. I used it a lot over the years, and I found that it's the best tool out there to maintain the quality and reduce the file size by a lot. So I'm going to show you the settings that I do. They usually do for this, like the format you want to select MP4, then you want to select web optimized. For dimensions, you want to make sure that the video on the size, the resolution size for the video is the same as the element or the part of the website where you want to add the video, and not bigger than that. So just to reduce from the file size, and you want to click like on cropping none, and on this one like off, and because you don't want to crop anything or something like that, you want to keep the same size that it has, that the video files has. And then on filters you don't want to select anything, and on the video encoder you want to select H264. For quality, you want to make sure that it's between like 25 and 18. Usually like 22 is fine. To maintain the quality, you can play around with this and see if you can reduce the file by a lot and keep the same quality and what works best for you. Usually like between these numbers, like it's good. And then for preset, you want to select very slow, and then you want to go inside audio and click on none, so it removes, if it's a background video, you want to remove the audio, and to make the file size smaller, and then you just export it and upload on Webflow. Now on Webflow, it has a background video element. You can use this, but it's going to reduce from the quality of the video. And what I've done lately, I started to use Bunny.net, which is a storage for videos, images, and other things like that. And I'm going to show you how you can also use this to optimize your videos even more and maintain the quality. I created a quick website here to show you how you can do it. So this is a video that I used before and the setup that I used before on my website. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to add an attribute and set up JavaScript. I'm going to show you this JavaScript, but basically you want to tell the video to not play until at all until you are going to scroll past it and that section, because it's not going to help with SEO that much, but it's going to help with performance and in the way of like the device doesn't have to play all the videos that you have on the website. So let's say that you have a lot of videos, it doesn't have to keep playing all of them or just that video, even if you are looking at another section. So you want to add something like this. The other thing, of course, because it's a background video, it's going to be muted, play on loop. And then another thing that you want to do, this is similar to the images, like the loading behavior for images, because this is a video on the hero section. You want to add preload metadata, but if it's not a video on the hero section, you want to add none. So what this means is that if it's none, it says that it shouldn't load the video when you are entering the website. So if you have multiple videos on the website, you should add something like this, because all the videos shouldn't be loading at once, because it's going to take a lot more time and decrease the performance. But for the one that is on the hero section, you want to add metadata, so it loads at the same time with the image. So it's the same behavior like before, like selecting for images eager, and for the other ones like lazy load, and it's the same thing. And then you want to add a poster, because you want to add an image that shows up before the video loads, and you want to upload the image on Bunny and just select like the URL and just URL and just paste it here. And the same for the video, you upload the video on Bunny and then just add the video link here. And yeah, I'm going to show you the JavaScript as well. So it's going to say again, like it's getting the attribute, so it's going to play when the videos are going to play when you scroll past them. And then for them, like when they should load like when you reach them and not before them. And for the hero section, it's going to load at the same time with the the page. And here is like when it's 20% of it, like it's going to play the video. So this is for the attribute. You can increase or decrease this or based on your liking when you want it to start playing. Um, so for example, let's say I'm going to duplicate this. So it's going to be like when I'm 20% of the video, it's going to start playing. Or if I'm, I don't know, 10%, it's going to start playing then. So you can change the setting there. So the last things that you want to do when it comes to performance to optimize for it, you want to go inside the settings for your website, click on publishing, scroll down, and under performance, you want to select Minify HTML, Minify CSS, and Minify GS. So this is going to help as well with performance. And the other thing that you want to do, you want to clean up your interactions. So inside the interactions panel, you are going to see here like clean up unused interactions. So any unused interactions that you don't use, you need to check and make sure, just delete all of them that you don't use. And same for classes. If there are classes that you don't use, you need to make sure that you don't use any like custom code like GS or something like that that may require some classes that you haven't added. All the other ones you need to just delete them, and it's going to help with performance as well. So let's talk about indexing and how to make your website appear on Google and also like AI powered search engines. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the Open Graph settings, and we are going to talk about the meta title. So inside of Webflow, for each page, you can change the meta title and the meta descriptions. And Webflow has also added like a way for you to generate based on the content that you have on the page, the keywords that you need to use for meta title, which is really good. What I recommend is also adding like the brand name inside the meta title and just using like keywords. Of course, you need to make sure that it's under like the title is under 60 characters, and for the meta description that it's under 160 characters. So you change like this is how it appears on Google, like under the SEO settings. And if you scroll down, you are going to see like open graph settings. So these are the title. You can make them to be different from the ones that appear on Google and search engines. Um, open graph settings are for when people are going to share on social media, or you share on social media like the blog post or a page from your website, and you can make them to be different. Here you are going to see like open graph image. You can change it by uploading inside of asset, and you can just add the URL from there here and change it. Or I think you can also like select an image and just select that open graph image that you are going to add. You need to make sure that it's at least like 1200 pixels and 630 pixels. Yeah, another thing when it comes to blogs, for example, you can open like the blog template. So pages that are inside the CMS, you can select, you can add a field, like I've done here, and you can add the name for that page. So it auto generates when you create a new blog, and you don't have to do this manually. And then you, for example, you can add another field here and just call it like, for example, one field that I use from the CMS is short description, and you can use, it can auto-populate on its own. And for the open graph image, you can select one of the fields inside the CMS. And for example, for this one, I added the thumbnail. You can use tools like Open Graph. I'm going to add the link in the description to see how it is going to look like and if everything works. Sometimes what I noticed on LinkedIn, after you do like a migration or you do a rebrand or something like that, you change the titles, you need to add that URL again, that link again. Like for example, just I have, for example, not this one. Let's just take the website. If you add it again here and you click on inspect, it's going to reset the on LinkedIn, and you are going to see that the images and the text are going to appear with the new the new information that you added on the website. I've noticed that with LinkedIn, I think it's the only social media that it just doesn't change after the new update, and you need to do this manually. I'm not sure if others have encountered this, but I've noticed this a lot. And yeah, this is how you reset it on LinkedIn as well if you have issues. So a few other settings that you need to be aware of when it comes to indexing is that if you go inside the website settings under SEO and under indexing, you are going to see this Webflow subdomain indexing. You want to make sure that this is turned off so it doesn't like results from like the subdomain don't appear on Google and compete with your main website. You want to see results only from your domain and not from the subdomain. You want to make sure that this is turned off. And the other setting is under global Canonical tag URL. You need to make sure that your main domain is added here in this format. So what this does is tells Google that if there are duplicates of your pages, that this is the main web page and this is the one that should appear on Google. It helps with SEO, so this is like a very important setting that you need to do. Another thing that you want to make sure is that if you go under publishing and under redirects, you want to make sure that, especially if you are migrating a website, you want to add the old path to the new path. So you want to add like the old page. If a new page, you are going to create a new page and it's going to have another path, you need to add it here, like the old path, because it's going to help with SEO ranking. It's going to maintain the same SEO ranking, and also like it's going to help with keeping the value that you have for that old URL to the new one. So it's like it's transferring it and it doesn't lose the SEO ranking, and also it prevents like errors like 4004 like the error page to appear because that old page doesn't exist. So you want to make sure that you add all the old paths from the old website here. And even if you change like a page, you want to make sure that the redirects are set and you don't lose anything. So another thing that you want to optimize are the page URLs and the slugs. So you want to make sure, like for example, in this case, like this is an events page. So the slug is events, but these are events inside of the CMS. And if you click on an event, you are going to see that it lives inside the events CMS. So you want to make sure that the main page, the events page, has the same slug as the CMS. So let me show you inside of Webflow. If we go inside the CMS for events, you are going to see like, yeah, the collection URL, the slug is events. And we, for example, if you have a blog page, you want to name it blog, and then like all the other or blogs as the URL, and then you want to make sure that the CMS has blogs as a CMS as well. So you want to make sure that this matches. And also like inside of Webflow for the page settings, you can create like for example folders that are going to act as slugs. So let me show you, like for example, locations. So inside of this, like these are not CMS pages, but these are like pages that live inside of that parent folder, which is a slug. And if you go to, for example, in this case, locations, let's go to Brighton, you are going to see that locations is the folder, like the slug, and then you have like Brighton as the page. So you want to make sure that everything is structured correctly, so it makes sense for user experience, like for people as well, like when it comes to user experience, that it makes sense. Like I'm looking inside of locations and I'm seeing Brighton, you know, and when I'm looking at events, that it's the slug, it's events and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that everything is sitemap just makes sense and the slugs are set correctly and everything is organized. You also don't want some pages to appear inside the sitemap indexing. You don't want some pages to appear on Google. And in this case, for example, the 404 page, like the error page, you don't want this to appear on Google. So you want to make sure that inside of the page settings on sitemap indexing, that this is turned off, right? And same for other pages as well, like for example, like the legal pages, you may not want this to appear on Google, so you click on sitemap and you turn it off and click on save. So you want to make sure that some pages are hidden, And that's how you do it in Webflow. So when you are ready to launch your website and you want your website to appear on Google, you want to go inside the website settings under SEO, and you want to scroll down and you are going to see robots.txt. You want to make sure that for this one, like these are turned on, like allow search engine crawlers and allow artificial intelligence. So the robots file basically lets like search engines to it tells like what pages to crawl and to index on search engines and what pages to not. Like this is related to the setting that we done before with the pages. So you want to turn this on, and under sitemap you want to turn this on as well. You want to automatically update the sitemap for you when you publish it. So with the sitemap, it just creates a list with all the pages that you have on your website, and which like it tells the structure of the website and what pages should appear there for search engines to just read it and understand the sitemap, like how like all the URLs that are on your website and should be crawled. So this is very important. You need to turn this on. And now for to actually make to submit the sitemap, because you need to submit the sitemap to Google for it to crawl it and for it to appear on search engines. You want to go under Google site verification, and we need an ID. So to do this, you open the Google Search Console. I already opened it here, and you want to add your domain. So in this case, I'm just going to add something very quickly. I don't know, just click on continue. You want to add your domain, and then you want to copy. You can click on, for example, you can copy the one from here, only this part, and you want to go back and just paste it here, and you are going to click on save, and then you want to go inside here and just click on verify, and it's going to verify your website. After you do this, you want to go inside the sitemap here on the left, and you want to submit your domain with your sitemap. So in this case, let's say in this case, let's just take this one, like your domain, and you want to write sitemap.xml, and you want to just go inside here and just submit it, and in a few days you should see your website should appear on Google. So let's talk about AEO now. The way you need to think about this is that it adds another layer on top of SEO. So it still needs SEO to for the content to appear, but it needs some AEO settings for AI tools or AI powered search engines to interpret the content that's on your website. So for us to do that, so we can interpret that content, we need to do some things. Inside the page settings, you need to scroll down and you need to see where it says JSON schema, the schema markup. Webflow has added a way for it to be generated automatically. So you need to, when you are on that page, you need to click on generate schema markup, so it auto generates the right schema. You can check it if some things are not okay, but it basically helps again, the AI tools or AI search powered search engines to just take the content and interpret it. And yeah, and this is one of the ways you can do it. If there's a page that is inside the CMS, like a CMS template, you can just you are going to see here that says add field or something like that, and you can just take, so you don't have to auto populate it every time. You can just take, you can add the name of the page or things like that, or the description, and you can just add the fields from CMS to populate this schema markup. And another thing that you want to do, you want to go inside the website settings, and under the SEO tab, you want to scroll down, and you are going to see here llms.txt. So you want to bloat the text that I'm going to show you. If you click on learn more, it's going to open a page from Webflow, and this is the structure that you need to use. You can also use tools like ChatGPT or Claude to generate this for you. If you say like generate like an LMS text file, it's going to generate the right structure. You can add the link from the website. So you can use this to better summarize what you are about to show, accurate summaries of what you do, and it doesn't let like it just tells the AI tool how to interpret your website and reason with it in a way. And it can help with just keeping things consistent when it comes to your brand. And it does let like it to pick up on different informations from different websites if you are published on different websites and stuff like that, and interpret it on its own. So this is a great way to just keep things consistent, and it helps with AO a lot. And yeah, you can upload it here. And yeah, this is basically how to set up a AO on your website. Now let's talk about content. So the first thing that we want to talk about is alt text for images, which is very important for accessibility reasons. So when assistive technologies are reading your website, they are going to describe the image based on the alt text that you add on the images. So I'm going to show you on Webflow how to set it up. It also helps with SEO, and if you use some keywords, like it can help. But yeah, it's a very important setting that you need to do. So let's say that you add an image. Let's take this one, for example, and let's go inside the settings for this image. You are going to see here alt text. It's descriptive, and we are going to add this. We are going to add the description, so it should describe quite in detail what that image represents. Sometimes you don't have to use alt text, because sometimes that those images are descriptive. Like for example, when it's an icon in this context, like the text is enough. So in this here, like I added an SVG, but let's say it's an image. The way you do it, you go again, let's go to this image, you are going to click on decorative. Now the great thing with Webflow, they added AI to help you describe the image, and it does it for you, and you don't have to do it manually. So let's go ahead and upload an image. Let's upload this one, and it uploaded over the same image. But let's, yeah, okay, this is great. So let's generate the description for this image. um yeah, this is quite good. It has even more details than I added before. So this is a way it helps with SEO, and again, like accessibility reasons. Like this is a very important setting that you need to do on every website, on all the images that you add. Webflow also has like an audit panel, and you are going to see here like if there are the alt text is not added on the images, you can add them from here. It generates for all the images. You can check the alt text and just approve all of them. When it comes to the images side, the blogs, you for the CMS, the way I do it, I set up like for example, this one is a thumbnail for the blog, and then I set up a text field and I called it thumbnail alt tag or just alt text, and I say describe the image. It helps with assistive technology, and the person that adds an article, they know that they need to describe that image here. And then inside of, let's go to the blogs, I'm going to show you how I add this. Let's click on the image. Inside the settings here, alt text, you can select that field thumbnail alt tag, and it just takes the alt text from there. When it comes to content, another thing to really boost the SEO is using localization on your website. I'm going to show you how, like a very big overview with how it works on Webflow. Let's go inside the settings, localization, and this is how you add local. Like for example, this one is English for France, and this is specific to the country as well. So with it helps boost SEO because the keywords specific for or specific phrases for that country, with how they would search for your I don't know, platform or something like that, or your solution, like it can really boost the SEO because it may be more specific than using English or another language. And it really helps if you use like country specific keywords, and it brings more traffic from that region. Let's see, like for example, with localization, you can change text, images, the page slugs, the names, the meta titles and descriptions, the CMS items, alt text for images. So let's switch to French for you to understand a bit better. Like for example, the title, you can see that the text is different here. You can change also like the images. It can be a different image, like for example, if an image, you have a image of a platform and it has like some text that it's in English, you can change that image to have like text that's from in French. And yeah, let's go to the page settings. You can see that the names are different, are in French, and the meta titles and descriptions are also changed. You can change the open graph image for this specific locale, and same for the CMS. So it really can help with boosting the SEO. You can change like the alt text, it can be different and not the one from that's in English. So this is another way that you can boost SEO through content. Now, when it comes to trust and boosting SEO to it, one of the main things that your website needs to have is an SSL certificate. Now, Webflow comes with default, like it's already on. You can add a custom one if you need to, but an SSL certificate is it creates a secure, encrypted connection between your website and its visitors. So it's on by default and it earns Google's trust, and it improves SEO. So you don't have to worry about doing anything unless you want to add a custom one. The other thing is, if you go inside the general settings for your website, you want to make sure that you added a Favicon light and on dark theme, and also like an Webclip. It says like on Webflow, it says like the sizes that you need. The other thing that you need to have on your website is a 404 page. So the one that let's say a page doesn't exist anymore on your website, you want to make sure that it is set up. And the other thing is, you don't really have to design it to make anything fancy, but you need to make sure that it has a button that goes to the home page and it describes clearly what's happening, like a page was not found, or it has been removed. You need to add a navigation bar so people can still see that they are on the website and they can go back to the page that they were on, and also like to add the footer. So these are the main important things that you need to have on this page. And the other thing that you want to make sure that you have is a Google Business Profile setup. This is free, you can set it up easily. It helps with local search results, because it appears like it can help with boosting your website to appear higher, and also it attracts people, and it also can build trust with your customers. So because there are a lot of changes that are happening due to AI to search, I wanted to talk about strategy as well. So when it comes to SEO, you need to have three things in mind, and the first thing is intent over keywords. So you want to build to really think about what are users actually searching for. Are they searching for information, or are they just comparing tools? Are they ready to buy? Because you can build pages based on that. Like for example, if they are comparing a competitor to the website that to the brand that you are building a website for, you can create a page that are comparing those two options. And then another thing is like to build authority and not just around topics, and not just build different pages that are separated from one another. Like for example, you created this page for competitors, you can create another one that is about information for your product and just linking them internally. So you shouldn't create pages that are isolated. So this is how you can build authority based on that topic. Things like that. You need to really think about that specific scenario. The third thing would be to measure what matters. Like you shouldn't focus on your rankings, but you should focus on clicks and conversions, and keep improving based on that and what makes sense for the user. And yeah, and when it comes to AEO, it builds on top of SEO, so it's not separated. So the first thing that now is changing is that all the information is built around answers and questions. So you should build the blogs and everything like that. Like for example, the title, it should be a question and then answering it inside the article text, and you can also like add other questions inside of that. You can also use FAQs, you can use like you can also use real questions from users and what people are asking about that specific brand that you are building a website for, and build the website based on that, like the content, the blogs, the FAQs. It really helps with AEO because for example, maybe someone is going to search for that on an AI tool, and that's how they can find the information. Also, like authority, as for SEO, you should build authority outside. This is a bit different. You should build authority outside of the website as well. Like if the brand appears on other websites like Reddit or Quora, or on social media like LinkedIn and YouTube, or even creating content, that brand can create content on these platforms, like it helps build authority. And the LLMs are going to take the are going to to show higher, or it's going to be more, it's going to appear more in the searches. It's going to help with appearing more in searches if the brand is going to mention on multiple websites and not just the having just the website, and that's it, like the content on the website. And the third thing is again measuring and refining. So checking how your brand appears, like the brand appears on AI tools. It should show up, it should be accurate, and the sentiment should be positive. Like for example, you can use like an AI tool like ChatGPT, and just testing how it appears. You can see if it does show up when you search for something, like I don't know, something related to that brand, like I don't know, some type of product. If it appears, if it doesn't appear, why it doesn't appear, what you can do to create more content so it appears, based again on the search intent and what the users are searching for. Does it appear late? Why does it appear late, and stuff like that? Is the description accurate? Should you improve something like the content on the website, or the LMLs text that you upload on the website? Yeah, and if it's positive, so it's about refining. So let's recap what we've discussed. So we've covered the technical foundation, the structure, the performance, the indexing. So your website is like, it has a good structure for SEO and AEO. It's optimized for performance, and it is indexed. Now it appears on Google. You know how to do this, and on other AI tools. The content and how you can boost it. Trust, like the key trust signals that your website needs to have, and strategy as well, like an overview about SEO and AEO and how things are changing at the moment. If you found this useful, like I would really appreciate you to leave a comment below, leave some feedback, share anything specific that I might have missed, or something that has helped you and you didn't know about before, and also like other feedback about what other tutorials you want to see here.